Welcome back to Tim and Sid on TV and radio. Sportsnet 590 The Fan in Toronto and coast to coast to coast on Sportsnet and Sportsnet 360. Got it good since you understood. The Oilers visit the Blues tonight on Scotiabank. Wednesday night hockey. Hockey Central will get you started. 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Elliotte Friedman, as always, will be a part of tonight's coverage. You can read his 31 thoughts right now on sportsnet.ca. He has more than 31 thoughts, but he puts 31 thoughts on I was going to say on paper,
Reed
but it's
usually
really
has about 85 a week. So get him down to 31.
Right.
It's impressive.
We're going to go 3 of 31. Brought to you by the Next Generation 2019 GMC Sierra Denali with the world's first available 6-function multi-pro tailgate. Frege, welcome back to the show, friend.
You know what? Mostly, guys, they say I've got 15 thoughts and I spread them out into 31, which is only true about 90% of the time. It's true about 50% of the time.
And if you increase the font on the document, it
don't
becomes
do
way
that.
longer. By the way, Frege, quickly, when you have a filet mignon, do you ask for it medium well?
No. And I'll tell you this. I think it's Scott Oak because it sounds something cringeworthy that only Scott Oak would do. But I think he asked for like A1 sauce in good steakhouses, and I just want to leave the table. I want to say like, I'm not with that guy.
Listen, I do some wrong things when I have dinner. I would never stoop so low
I know
as to ask for that sauce.
Yeah, I guess so. I was going to say, like, we have now, it's 3 people that are doing the medium well, though, that we know of. You, Scott,
I know places that won't do that.
And Mark Shapiro.
Yeah? There's 3. There's 3 of us. Go ahead, Frege, sorry.
No, I know places that won't do that. Now, am I allowed to name steakhouses on here? I don't know if anyone sponsors
or give it an alias that is very recognizable.
Okay. So before Steph and I got married, worst day of her life was we brought like a relative of hers that's really important to her, and he wanted to go for a good steak, and he likes well done steak. And I was like, really? And he goes, oh yeah, he loves it. And we went to Harbor 60. And he said, and they looked at him and said, you really want a well-done steak? And he's like, yes. And he said it was the best well-done steak he's ever tasted.
Best $900 steak ever. All right, Frege, let's start with Taylor Hall here. We all know who won the sweepstakes, obviously.
Yep.
Who else was on the podium? Who was second and who was third in that race, would you say?
I don't know if anybody was really, second or third. I think that's difficult to handicap. I think what happened was they had some situations where I think some teams were trying to do more hockey trades and some teams were trying to do futures trades. I think St. Louis was interested in a futures trade because they want to win the Stanley Cup, but they didn't have a young defenseman, and clearly that's something that New Jersey wanted. They want to rebuild or bolster their defense. I don't think St. Louis was able to do that. They didn't have someone like that, so they were out. Edmonton was willing to do a futures trade, but they didn't want to give up a first-round pick, and I think they were also very protective of some of their deep prospects. They got out. I think Calgary was willing to do more of a hockey trade involving young players who were in the NHL that had some team control. But I think Calgary wanted some assurances that they could talk to Hall beforehand. They couldn't get that. I think Florida wanted to make a hockey trade, talk about an extension. They couldn't get that. I think the Islanders, and we all know that Lou Lamoriello isn't telling us anything, but I think they were willing to do more of a hockey trade too. Weren't able to pull it off. So I can't say who really finished second, but I think there were a lot of other teams around it that couldn't make it work like Arizona could. And I just think New Jersey wanted to do it. Hall only played 33 games last year. He only missed, I think, 10 games. Sorry, it's 10 plus 16 games the previous 3 years. But they were just worried about an injury, and they're like, we want to get this done before just not risking any injury here.
You mentioned the Calgary Flames. Austin Czarnik was on waivers in Calgary. A lot of people were trying to draw some sort of conclusion about Ilya Kovalchuk from those waivers. Is there anything there?
I don't think Ilya Kovalchuk and Calgary are on each other's radar, no.
Okay.
I've been wrong before, once or twice, but I don't think this is the case.
The other one I want to ask about the dealings that are going on right now is the Devils. They've got some real interesting pieces in and around that team. Can you see them moving anyone else? And dare I put PK Subban's name on that list?
Well, here's what I would say. Ray Shero said yesterday this is not going to be a fire sale. I think they want to slow things down a little bit. This was a crazy week, and I think they just want to calm things down a bit. The guy on their roster, I do believe that teams have already asked about. I had heard there was one team that specifically asked about him already, and I wouldn't be surprised if there were more. Sammy Vatanen, right shooting D, who's non-restricted free agent at the end of this year. I don't think if the Devils want to move him, they're going to have any problem doing that. They have some unrestricted free agents. Andy Green, their captain's an unrestricted free agent. Wayne Simmons is an unrestricted free agent. You do have to keep some people. They've got a young team. You have to have some good pros there just to help them figure out how to do it. I don't think Wayne Simmons liked being a rental last year. I've heard his preference is to stay, and they're going to have to keep some people. You know, PK, I'm sure. Look at it. I'm sure that New Jersey, if the opportunity presented itself, would consider moving PK Subban. He's really struggling right now. He's off to a really rough start. I think he's going to, I wonder if we're looking at a point where PK Subban's going to have to make some changes to his game. Maybe the way he trains in the off season and the way he overall prepares. I would not count him out. I know better than that. He's got a lot of pride. He takes a lot of pride in what he does. But I think he just looks like he's lost a step, and that doesn't mean he can't find it. But the fact is he's going to have to maybe make some changes to the way he prepares in the offseason, and I will see where that goes.
Speaking of defenseman, Fried, some reports out of Winnipeg last night suggesting that maybe communication between the Jets and Dustin Byfuglien are a little bit better than they have been over the last little while as he recovers from the ankle injury. A, what are you hearing on that? B, is there a chance Byfuglien is back in that uniform between now and the end of the season?
I think if it's up to the Winnipeg Jets, Dustin Byfuglien will be a Winnipeg Jet. Like, if you take a look this year, first of all, I think the team has done extremely well, much better than a lot of us expected. A lot of it is Hellbuck. A lot of it is just, I think a lot of those guys are better than the sum of their parts. I think a lot of people who've been given an opportunity have done really nicely, and I would put Pionk at the top of that list. I do think if you look, they haven't really been able to do much because they've got that $7.6 million cap hit sitting there. What happens if he comes back? And I do believe they want him to play for them. I think if there was an issue here about him returning, it was more on his side than their side. You never know what time can do, what time can heal, but there's a big thing that still has to be sorted out here, and that is he going to get paid or not? And as you guys know, nothing can ruin a relationship more than money. It's why they tell you never loan to your friends or your family, or never borrow from your friends or your family, because nothing affects a relationship more than cash. And until that gets sorted out, I think there's always going to be a question about, can this work out in the future?
Don't you owe me a couple of bets?
Like at
on
least
FIFA?
$40.
Yo, get out.
At least $40 and dinner at Harbor 60.
Right.
Elliotte Friedman, 31 thoughts on Sportsnet.ca right now. All steak and the sizzle. Elliotte Friedman. Also part of Scotiabank Wednesday Night Hockey, Blues and Oilers tonight.
Laugh out loud.
Thanks, Fried. I'll take it from Fried. I'll take it.
Hey, Tim, I hope your boo-boo's better, okay, bud?
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it.
Take care, guys.
Appreciate it.
Word travels fast in that part of the world.